Hello and welcome back to Alpha Dev Day 2023. I am very pleased to be joined by Dan Bricklin, our CTO. Dan will be reviewing what has gone on over the last year in TransForm and talk about some of the new features that are in the immediate future. So let's get started. Hello, Dan. Are you there?
Hey, can you hear me?
I sure can. Let me go ahead and
Okay,
make
now
you
let
the
me figure out
presenter,
about
and we'll see
sharing
if we
my
could figure out
screen.
your screens. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
let's figure out. I'm a Zoom person myself, let's see. Drop down, and then you look for my screens, both screens, just a window. Oh, wait, it's supposed to have an option
Mhm.
to do a what's it called? To do a rectangle.
Might just be a screen.
Only does a screen. Well, I gotta. Let me make some things smaller here. That's going to be sorry
While
for
you do that, excuse me a
the
second.
backgrounds. Yeah, but we just had Nikos, of course, stole some of my thunder there. Uh, let's
And he
see.
and he wasn't even here today. That's almost the most
Yeah, it
important
wasn't
part about
even.
it.
So I hope
I'm
that
sure there's
it
cool
went in
stuff.
people's. Well, that's sort of a test. Did anybody notice things that they hadn't seen before?
Right.
You know.
That is a good one.
So okay, let's do this.
One thing I'd like to point out while you're sorting out your screens,
Yeah,
for those of you who don't know, Alpha Transform now has a free tier or a freemium
that's
version.
I talk about that.
Oh, I'll let you do. Okay, you know what? I'm stealing all of your thunder. Never
Everybody
mind.
steals my
Never mind.
thunder.
Everyone, forget everything I've said.
See, so we want next one is we'll do
All right.
yeah, why don't we do this? Let's do it clean, see what that does.
All right. I'm
So
taking a
are you
look
seeing,
at Alpha software right now. I'm looking at
and
your
you're looking at this?
and now I'm looking at
Let's
that
do.
PowerPoint slide.
Hey, and okay,
Off we go.
off we go. So let's click on here. Hey, so at last year's DevCon, we announced a few things. We announced filler enhancements, browser-based form filler, the web filler. We added analytics with extra analytics to dashboard, improved some things, some enhancements to workflow, and further design of workflow as we were talking about then. We had a roadmap about what was going to be happening this past year in the last 12 months. We said something about a web filler, advances to the current on-submit system, account activity tracking and limiting, additional login options, integrated workflow systems, enhancement to TPL, but who knows when we're going to do those things. Well, what actually happened over the last year? We're going to go over these, but we have a sign up genie and a free tier, which we just heard about, updates the filler, quick link, runtime tracing to the filler, quick start enhancement, render functions. I hope all of you listened to Nikos in the last session where he showed off all sorts of things, and it gives you examples of why you would want to have a lot of the things that I've added to TransForm. There's better support for export of forms, functions and statements, and this stuff and more. So let's go over those. The first one is the sign up genie. Easy step-by-step creation of a new TransForm account. And it lets you initialize when you first come in with a new account with predefined form definitions. For most of you who probably have already tried TransForm, this isn't something you probably care as much about, but you got to know about it, so might as well tell you about it. So if we go over here to, where was it? There we go. If you try to go up here and let's say sign up for TransForm, where is it? There we go. This is the genie, and you get to put your name in, Dan Bricklin. We like you to spell it right, company and whatever, and you have to Give your soul away. Don't send me anything. And so what this is, we try to make it, let you know what's happening, make it though work well. This is one of the questions that came up in the discussion that in the breakout session is this has to run both on the browser on a large screen like this, as well as on a small screen of a phone. So we tried to make it obvious and small and not ask you too much, but we explain, why do we need your email? Well, you know, that's why we have it. Okay, we need it to be able to know who you are, and that's how we identify you. And then you got to sort of make up a password for it, and let's put something in, and are they the same? There we go. And now I've added a new user. And so it's showing you it isn't very much to do. Let's give it a name. DevCon 2023 practice. And then it tells you about, there are other things about an account. What is an account? It has settings, so I have to create an account. And then once it's created this account, it says, hey, there's some sample forms, which if you want to, you can have them already in your system ready to go. Okay, so let's do the 5S audit. Let's do Gimbal walk and Gimbal sample, and then we'll add these. That's it. You're all set. Your TransForm account is set up, and the next step is to go to Central or to go to mobile to try it. We're going to talk about the next step later on. Okay, so we're done with that. Okay, let's go back to, that's the sign up cheating. Now, remember we talked about adding the stuff about limits and other stuff that we're putting in. Well, because we now have this new capability of keeping track of what you're doing, how many forms you created, each account has, there's all this account level stuff. We can now have a free tier where we can control and say that you can have up to 3 users and 35 new forum instances per month, and you can be on the free plan. Or you can keep our existing business plan. These are the first plans that use this activity tracking and limiting function. We're going to be able to have other custom plans and standard plans and stuff like that, but this is what we've already shipped. The fact that you can now use TransForm for free for as long as you want for some forms, and we're talking about pretty much the full TransForm as we have it today with dashboard and all that stuff. You can actually do some very useful things and not spend it all. So if you know TransForm well, you can use it, you know, for your family and for, you know, for friends and stuff like that. And we hope this will make it easier for people to learn more and more about TransForm. So we've done updates to the filler. We've added keyboard support to the number pad in the filler. We've added changed event support for when you push those add and delete buttons in the filler. So that when the user taps the add new data group item or delete one, your program, your TPL, can know about it and do something. So for example, if you add one, it can pre-populate and do certain calculations. You can, when somebody deletes it, you can know to maybe do some call or do something like that. And we've added something that it used to be that, let's go to the filler here. You would have to push refresh definitions and remember to do that. In fact, for a long time, you actually had to go to the add blank form and do a refresh from server. And there was complaints that people didn't remember to do that. And when you update a form, all sorts of people in the field would have old form definitions. So now there's a setting for the account to, every time you log in or reconfirm or confirm login, it'll reload the form definitions. It defaults to yes, but you can turn that off if you want. And we've upgraded the list problem support. I'll show you that. And then there were some bugs that were fixed. So if I go to, let's see, which one was it? Oh no, this wasn't. Here we go. This is just a form, and it has inside this page, it has an error, okay? Oh, it also, not only does it has an error, it has a read-only field that's, I mean, a required field that's not there. Well, if you look at the list problems now tells you that more information than you had before. It adds a variety of things there. So this gives you more information and still takes you right to the right place. So that's helpful. Why do we need that and have it? And it uses templating, which we didn't used to have before. The reason is, if you saw Nikos's presentation, you're going to hear this over and over, see this over and over again. There was a need that Nikos had with variable number of or dynamic forms to be able to do certain things and not have to type them all in advance, but to have it be programmatically driven in various ways. And that sort of made this obvious that we needed this. So we've added that. And and that is from, if we go here and you go to designer and you go look at the, what was this? This was the demo. That was the, this demo, right? The V9 demo. So we go to V9 demo. And you look at this error. The error text is error command, and the optional message is this with templating. So that's where those things are coming from, okay? And there are a variety of bugs to fix, okay. One of the big things we added is a thing called Quick Link. It enables many forms of workflow that are driven by email. Internally, until we came up with a cool name, Quick Link, we call it edit form functionality, and a lot of the documentation still calls it that. But because it lets you edit a form just off of a link. So the rationale for that is there's all sorts of types of workflow that involve sending a message, an email, an SMS to somebody, where they just click a link and see right up should be the form. They may have to give approval or something like that, and then send it off to do further actions. We didn't have that in TransForm before. What you had to do is the user had to look at a form. They had to go to the filler and hope that it was assigned to you and find it in the list, or go to the management console and know where to find it. And there was all these other form instances. It didn't fit with the type of workflows that a lot of people have. So we addressed that with this Quick Link edit form functionality. It's easy to send a link to a user, and that link includes custom data to pre-populate parts of a form before editing without needing to use hand-coded, TransForm, REST APIs and stuff like that. Because right now, if I wanted to have a form that had certain data in it, I had to use the API, the REST API, to be able to modify forms and stuff like that. This lets you do that. And so, for example, an email created from a template can include template data fields in the URL to pass to the form. And I'm going to show you examples of this. Sometimes you may want to have an intranet data page that uses JavaScript that creates a specific URL that any authorized user can click on. You have to log in. If you're not already logged in, you have to log in with your credentials. The login is specific to Quick Link. And have a new form instance created using that data. And they can fill in the rest. So Quick Link is a web page. It's just like the edit form, the web filler. It runs in the browser. You have to be connected to the internet. You have a custom URL. You go to quick link, transformalphasoftware.com/quick link. And you can use a QR code or whatever you want to get to it. And it allows you to view, edit, and save a single form instance. You go directly to the desired form, and you can actually go directly to a specific field in the form. So if you wanted to say, there is a problem with this specific field on this page, you can have it show up right there. There's no forms list. It's only the form editing detail. The login persists. Multiple tabs can be open at once. It's independent of the filler and Transform Central, but it's based on the same code base as the mobile and web fillers, so that you get your reliability, standardized UX, the help is all there, etc. How do you do it? Well, you can edit an explicit form instance by just having quick link the form instance ID. Or you can use this form where you say what the mode is. You can do a duplicate. The mode is a duplicate. Duplicate this, and then let the person edit it. For this account, I have to be logged into this account. Go to this queue, or option, you don't have to have the queue there, and I can choose one for the queue. So we could say, hey, choose something from the, choose one of the ones on the queue. You can create a new form instance. This account ID, create this a new form instance with this definition ID. And you can also say a starting position and any URI encoded text that you pass to the environment. So there's some new TPL functionality. There's environment edit form, tells you whether you're running it, edit form value, the thing that you can pass to it. There's some new TPL. You can change state and save. This does the submit button, and you can hide the button that says it's you're done. So you can say it is until you've finished everything that it's done. So I'm going to just show you something quick. It's a multi-step workflow using just edit form functionality, stuff that's already in on submit. There's no server hosted code or any use of Alpha anywhere to do this. The only thing I needed to know was a little bit of JavaScript for the on submit conditions to be able to say, if the following form fields or instance fields are there. And eventually you won't even need TPL knowledge for that. It'll be in the builder for on submit. So the first form type I have lets you assign a task of reading a particular meter to a particular user. You don't need a management console. You can use it as many times as you want to assign many tasks. The user is going to get an email with a link to click to create a new form instance, which will be pre-initialized with the meter number. And then then it'll validate that the reading is okay. If it doesn't pass validation, the user is told, repeat the test. If it does pass validation, it'll send to the manager to accept or flag it, and they may accept it or flag it if it's accepted and the report is emailed to an appropriate place. Otherwise, it's added to a queue of failed things that weren't approved. This is the whole thing. Use this, sent to user, clicks this. So it's a workflow. So let's try that. Let's see if I can do this. Go to here, go to here, go to here, and let's see, which one was this? This is the which one was it? Oh, demo. Oh, it's the demo. Which demo was it? Edit form data setup. That's the one. Okay, let's go to that. So all I need to do is go to this. This is the manager who's about to assign something. So let's get a number here, and the meter number is 4321, and I'm going to assign it to me, and then I'm going to dispatch the meter reading request. Done. We have a little tea here. And let's see, where do we put this? Right here. Okay. And voila. If I double click this and bring this up here, I got an email. Please read meter number 4321. Click this link to create and fill in a form in the latest reading. Okay, let's do that. And up comes. While this is coming up, let me bring this down here. And so that's the meter. This is read only. I have to do a reading, okay? And let's see, because there's no done button. Okay, well, this reading is very low. It's automatically filled this in, do a save, saving the changes. Success, you're done. You may now close the browser tag if you want. Yep, I got another email. There are issues with the meter reading you have. Wait 1 hour and click this link. Okay, I'll click that link. Okay, let's go back here. Get rid of this. And there we are. Try another one. Well, I can't. Let's change this to, no, can't. It's read only. Let's add a new item. This is high. Yeah, let's make it very high. Okay, and we'll save it. And success. And let's see. Then we go here. Another email came in. Look at that. Click this link to evaluate it. Please approve or disapprove. Okay. And then we go here. And downloading from the server. And it has scrolled me down to either flag it or submit it or approve it. I'm going to approve it. Let's look at this. Hey, I got an approval email. Look at that. And there's the form all set and it's approved. Okay, so that's an example of using the using QuickLink to do. You've seen all sorts of things here of using QuickLink as a workflow. Okay, let's go back to PowerPoint, and we've added runtime tracing to the filler. The filler now has TPL execution tracing, and you can display a statement by statement log of execution of TPL and changes to data. This should be helpful. Now you'll see that the complicated thing that Nikos did, he had help because it was easier, much easier to debug what he was building using this new functionality. So let's go to this new functionality. We will go here to, let's see, debug demo. I guess that's it. Okay, so first of all, let me show you what you do here. I go to help, and in help, you can go down to tools for support, and in tools for support is debug. So I'm going to push debug, and there's a new setting called show trace. And I did the show trace. Now there's a show trace button. Okay. So now if I show trace, trace says not tracing. I haven't saved any steps. I'm saving local, global, and form data. Let's start tracing, okay? So I'll close this, and I'm gonna add 25 cents to the currency field, okay? So now let's see what happened here. We executed a button. we started out with V. There was no V, okay? But then here, V gets set to 0 because the currency currently had nothing. Then we added to it, and now what's currency have? Let's take a look at that. Currency has 25 cents, okay? So, and then we evaluated an expression, 2 plus 2. If we close this, you'll see that 2 plus 2 equals 4. That was a template. And we evaluated other expressions and stuff like that, and then a render function, which we'll learn about later. So what else can you do with trace? Well, I can look at the code, and here's all of the TPL code, and I can say, oh, there's this loop. Let's see. Oh, and there's ask for value. There are all these cool things I can do. Oh, look, there's text block. Oh, this is, by the way, there's something new. Well, you'll see this later on. There's text block and JSON block. So this is, let's look at ask for value. Let's do this start, and let's do over this, and we'll do an end. And then I can close this. I don't want regular tracing to go on. Clear this and close. So now when I do the loop, I click this to do the number of loops, and then I can execute the for loop, and it does it. And I can look at my trace. Oh, is there any trace? No, because I didn't run any. Oh, ask for value. Oh, let's do that one. Did the wrong one. But notice it didn't fill it up with anything. But let's do one of 3 values. Let's set it to -7. Okay, now we show the trace. Aha, it's prompting you for this. Starts await, got the value, log console. There's a new thing now which you can do a log to console. If I do this, it says console, new value is 3. You can now do this for debugging. Is that nice and useful? And we can look at this, that vals equals this, and you can look at this stuff. So this is really helpful for lots of stuff. Yes, there's more and more stuff in it, and but that's all I have time to show now. I can take questions. I'm going to have time for questions, I think. And oh, actually, what other things was there with trace? You can just do one. If you just want to see one, let's say you're in the middle of a loop, okay, like this. You know, I can do this and set it for 1, and we can clear this one and clear this one, right? And close that. Let's clear this, and then we go through the loop, and let's look at that. And you can see total equals 1, total equals 2, total equals 3. And what code was that? It's that code. Okay, we can get rid of that. Let's get rid of it. Oh, we have to go to the code and get rid of that. So that's trace. Let's go back here. So that should be helpful. You know, I found that the debugging stuff that we had put in, we put a lot of stuff into TPL. It was sort of that we realized it's really important. If we're going to give you a programming language, you've got to be able to do debugging. And we, you know, and that was, which is why we have a little tester that's in the, let's see, in here, if you remember, if we're looking at edit custom code, you know, there's a tester which actually let you run code and try different things, but it's not running actually on, and you can actually, you know, put a single line in and say 2 plus 2, and it gives you the answer. But that's not enough, because you want to test things, you know, they're running off of SQL databases and stuff like that that are in the real filler while it's really running. And this lets you be able to, and it had a debugger that lets you do some stuff and lets you look at data. The debugger, if you remember, or if you don't know, if you're here, the debugger lets you look at local data and lets you look at global data, and it lets you look at, you know, the system values and all sorts of stuff. Any code. Now, right now I'm at the top level, but if I went into the debug demo and I show you debug, now it has all sorts of stuff, right? There's the local data, there's that data, there's this data, you know, and so we had that, and you could actually, you know, execute a function in here. I could choose a particular function and actually run it and single step it if I wanted, but it wasn't enough. So that's why we added tracing, okay? And let's go back to here. Quick start. Quick start's real powerful. Quick start text, which lets you just paste stuff in, but people were complaining that the names are automatically named field 1, field 2, field 3. So now you can do this. If we go here and let's see, let's create a new form, add a blank, quick start text. If I put in name, what is that going to do? Well, let's not do name first. Yeah, let's do name first. And then we'll do, if you just do that, what happens? It becomes field 1. And the next one is field 2, etc. Let's add some more quick start tile. Instead, I could have said name, colon, bracket, name. Classification, right? Small, medium, oops, large. Class. Save that. Now when I go here, look at this. It's called class and it's called name. So it makes it much easier to, much more powerful to use quick start text. This was requested by users and added it to the system. So when you ask, we sometimes listen, often. Now comes render functions. It's a new special class of functions to handle customized rendering of field values. There are render functions and render button functions. And then there are all sorts of different types of stuff. Many types of fields and commands can have render functions specified. Render functions are TPL. Text, number, phone, sign, currency, integer, scanner, list, button list, date, datetime, time now, countdown, action button, page start, countdown, change status, go to target, go to next page. The render functions process the value before display and return something different to be shown in its place. So you can have currency symbols, thousand separators, different colors, button lists can take on different styling and behavior. So let's show you that. Let's go into, it's in formatting here. So let's go over here and let's look at test render functions. So here I have a thing where I can put a type of value in here and push a button and it assigns that value to lots of stuff. So this is just a plain default value, okay? And in this case, let's say the default value here is preview value 1, so that's what you see here. Here we have complex test function. I can choose from a list of different formatting, okay? This is sign numbers, okay? All sorts of different ones. We're going to show you that in a second. and they're defined in custom code. If I look over here in the if I look at this one has a render function of format function. This has one also a format function. This has currency format function. If we go look at the different functions, there is currency format. It has this little funny thing of £, exclamation mark, a Unixy thing, render colon, US currency. That's why when you see that list that comes up, this will be added to that list. And this then takes the value that would have been displayed and turns it into display value and can return just an updated thing, formatting the numbers the way that this way. If it's less than 0, then what it does is it takes that value and it puts color around it. And here it returns it of type HTML with HTML value of this. So you can actually return HTML if you want to. You can just return straight a value if you want, or you can return some extra stuff. And we will look at that. Let us go to here, up here, and we're going to, well, we don't want demo, show all. Now let's look for render. Here we go. Oops, not that one. Much nicer. So here we have a value, 432.1. That's plain. This is formatting now as, oh, this one tests the formatting. So what is it? This is plain. This is as a text field, as a number field, as a signed number field. Okay, this currency. This is currency formatting. You know, does its thing. If we went up high enough, it'll have thousands in it. U.S. currency formatting. So this is, let's add okay. So all of these are set to do that. This is the friendly date formatting, Monday the 8th of whatever, you know, Friday, yesterday at this time. Okay, set it to now. Okay, this is today at 2:53. I'm kind of on time. Not everything can be formatted, but look here. This is a plain list. This list, when I choose something, it adds this at the end. And this adds some SVG after it. Okay, you can do all sorts of stuff. Here's a plain button list, right? Well, here's a button list that has color and says the value is yes, that's Y. The value is Y and N. Here's a multi one. You can have colors. Here's no title. This one doesn't have a title on top of it. This is a title. And, you know, red, orange, you know, yellow, etc. Here we make it look like checklists. Yay, nice of that. Shows you what it is. Here is multi-value ones with a carriage return thrown in here, a line break, and something between them. You can customize all sorts of stuff, and this turns out to be driven by some data that is specific to that specific field, and by changing something in the definition of that field, the render function renders different stuff. Now, there's a thing called button list functions. A button list function says if you have a button list, I want to process the button presses so that I can do whatever I want when I press these things. This one resets the other ones. So I can do custom processing on button lists. Now, this is a button list with an XY button function. So the buttons that you're seeing are two buttons that are showing a value, and the value is an XY value, X comma Y, and the image is a background image, I think pulled off of S3 or something like that. And so look at this, it has XY positions. So I can use this to say, click where it hurts, okay? And countdown, text is raw HTML. If you look at this, you know, here we are, font bold, orange, you know, blue, you know, now it's like that. So new function is online. Now these are an action button. Instead of having the normal look of a button, I have a render function that returns a div with a border on it and stuff like that. This is returning an image, you know, an image tag together, you know, with a couple image tags and this. This is within in here. Here are buttons, next page, you know, all sorts of buttons now. You can make them look whatever way you want. And let's see, oh, sections have more things now than they used to have. And you can now define the thickness of the border. You can define the radius. And you can define, you know, and let's see, and the padding inside. And so that is, I guess that's enough of showing that. Okay, so that's buttonless. We've had better support for export of form instances that look like the form. So that, you know, so like some of the stuff that Nico showed uses the onload action, you know, event, and that to load some values to render the form. That now works even when you're producing a PDF to be emailed to somebody, you know, it's an on submit. We added, as you may have seen, text block and JSON block of a value, and then you can just put in any amount of text with carriage returns, and it assigns it to this. And this you can do, it'll parse it as JSON and assign it to the object. It makes it much easier, as Nico showed, to be able to put in the data that you might need. We've dropped support for old pre-TPL form definitions. If you did anything from 2019 on, don't worry. You probably won't, it won't be a problem. It's flagged in the designer and tells you how to upgrade it. It always has, and it also, but now it shows it in the list to say you're running an unsupported type. When you try using it, basically the ifs don't work right, and some other stuff will just default to blank. There's an action and on submit to insert or update an on-prem database, so that if you go to in Alpha Anywhere, if you go to the Genie for creating on submit actions, you can just give it a particular database and a connection string to a database anywhere, and you can write data to it. We have bug fixes and enhancements, border radius, border width padding, a change, sections now default to not being indented. It was a pain in the neck. The page buttons now have this item number in it. But if you care about that, if you're using, the thing that Nico's ran into is that he didn't want item number. He wanted to be able to look it up in a table to be able to say this was the big test question and the small test question. He didn't want it to say question number 1, question number 2. So we've upgraded to that. Buttons normally weren't rendered when you export, but now you can. When you export, you can say there's a setting in the designer that when you're let's see, if you have a button, let's see, where is a button? Oh no, let's cancel this. Let's go to here. Here's a button. You can say show the button as a button in export, no or yes. If it's yes, then you'll see a button, otherwise it'll be hidden. So that's, and let's see. So last year's roadmap was web filler advances, these. So what happened? Web filler. Yeah, we made some changes, but we also gave you quick link, which is a big deal in terms of enhancing the web filler for other uses. We've added things to the OnSubmit system for account activity tracking and limiting. We added free tier, and we're going to have more. Additional login options. We're still where we were before. You can use your on-prem ones and stuff like, your own and stuff like that. But an integrated workflow system that it would shown, we still haven't done much more work on that. There's been some, but we got so much out of QuickLink and all. Other things were much more important and needed by the specific customers that we were building things for. And of course, we did lots of TPL functionality, sign up Genie, runtime, tracing, quick start, render function, so much more. So what's coming soon? One thing that's coming soon is in the management console, the ability to, let's go here, management console. Let's go to general, my old favorite, general sample. And here I am. And here's a nice form. And the way we used to edit it is you would have to go here and you had this ugly thing and you sort of had to go and edit that by sort of doing this, right? Or you had to do this and go in and edit this. Ugh. Okay. Well, now we now have the filler. It's right there. And when I modify this, so no, it's not the first time. And, well, who knows? I can now save it. When I save it, it saves it back here. It's not saving it yet back to the server. It saves it here. And then when I upload it, I can click here to upload it. Okay. So we've added that, which is really useful. And this, you have full TPL and everything like that is all running here to do all those cool things. And it lets you know who it's for. This means that as a manager, you have access to all the ones you have access. Access control is all being done by permissions and things like that, but you can do all those things without having to log in, without having to assign it to somebody, etc. Okay. Excuse me. Let me take a little more tea. There are a variety of TPL editions, such as, let's see, what was, well, the TPL editions, some of the things that Nico showed you that make some of that possible, there have been additions to TPL that we're putting in to make it easier for him to build that. So for example, if you go to the designer, and if I go to, let's see, test render functions, I go here. Oops, no, that's not what I want. I want to go here, edit custom code. Let's look at those button list. There's a thing here, not only do you have render functions and render button functions, you have extra settings where you can put whatever you want in here, which can be read by your render functions or by anything you want, if you could get it, okay? Well, we're giving you access to this. There's this cool stuff where, let's see, if I go to here, let's go to TransForm. If I go here and Let's see if I remember what it is. No, it's, give me a second here to remember the name of the function. Let's, form function info. On device data. No. That wasn't the settings. Extra field. Oh, yes. Field extra settings. Okay. I now have the name of all of my, all of the on-changed events that you might have gotten for all of the fields, field 1, field 2, item group 1's field 30 inside of it, and this is this. And I know what type of thing. Is it a field or is it a button? And is there any extra for it? And some of them have extra. Like this tells me about the button afters, and this is the button colors. This is how I'm able to customize that just by changing those values. So you have access, you can get access to it through this, and with the new function called obj key, you can get a list of all of the fields, the keys. That's all. That's coming soon. Okay, and we have a thing called autosave. This is optional for an account. It says if you're in the filler and you have something that needs to be uploaded, if you haven't uploaded it in this many minutes or hours, whatever, when you go back to the list, to the main list, upload it automatically because the person forgot to do it. Some people need that. It's an option that's coming in. Quick link, we're adding an explicit instance as an admin, so I can send you a link to as if you're a management console user, I can send you a link and say to a specific form instance and say, edit this form instance without it having to have been assigned to you. But you have to have the right permissions to do that. This adds to Quick Link. It's a nice thing. We're building an on-device data builder in TransForm Central. There's some really nice stuff already that's in Alpha Anywhere for on-device data, but we're building one that lets you be able to sort of just bring in some spreadsheets and stuff like that and end up with SQL-like databases as your on-device data and stuff like that, and be able to just edit it and be able to keep that updated. And we're adding web filler as a part of TransForm Central so that you're going to be able to, in TransForm Central, let's go back to TransForm Central, you'll be able to be here and go right to this. Let's get rid of this. You'll be able to go right to this to be able to do anything that you want without having to log in again, because it'll use the same login that you have here. So you don't have to teach people about the web filler and stuff like that. All they need to know is transform.alphasoftware.com. Q&A. I hope I left enough time.
You did it. Perfect timing, actually. Thanks very much, Dan. So we have a couple general transform questions that we'll start with. And the first one has to do with what do we consider to be users on the system? Is it someone who fills out the forms? Is it someone who designs the forms? And just the quick answer to that is that a user is anyone who's got a username and password on the system, and
For that account.
For that particular account.
And for that account, you can be multiple accounts.
And that person can have multiple roles. They can be an administrator. They might have the ability to do everything, or they might just be individual users. So that's what's counting on the account.
And
now,
you
there
can,
was a You go ahead.
But and you can set on that you can set your own roles. You can add them for an
Right.
account,
Yep.
and then say that if you don't have, the Grand Poobah role, you're not allowed to look at certain form types of
Right.
forms,
Can't look at form types, can't look at certain data, can't fill out certain forms.
or
Exactly.
certain
Yep.
yeah.
Um, so the other thing is, can you have unnamed users? And that's that's an interesting question. Right now, it does not support anonymous users, so you don't. So it can't be.
That's on the further roadmap.
It is definitely on the
I
further
have
roadmap.
I have a proposal for it, but I only showed you things that we have code already sort of working for,
Exactly.
and
Yep.
or it's in beta. Okay.
Yep.
I decided I don't want to promise anything that I haven't.
That way, next year they won't come back and say, Dan, you promised. Exactly.
Right.
This is
I
yeah.
got burned by that too. That's why it's for me that
That's fair.
I
Yep.
put those the strikeouts through things to
That's
let you know you're wrong.
yeah. Well, sometimes roadmaps get updated. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha. This is a question, and it says if you edit a form in the management console and then upload the changes to the server, does that fire the on-submit events
Yes.
again? I think it
Always
does.
has.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it is. So the fact that now you can edit the form in the management console using something very much like the web form filler doesn't change that. So
Right.
that's just it's just a nicer interface
I
to
could
work
go
with.
in and edit one of the ones you saw, and I'll get another email telling me can you?
If you have it set up that way. Yep, absolutely. Um, another question here was, what is considered to be a new form instance? That's a great question. A new form instance. So we have two things. We have what we call a form design, and then we have a form instance, which we sometimes just call forms. So the form design is, for example, test rector functions or whatever he's got here, or the 5S audit or the pump jack inspection. And that is the
Click
design.
here. That's a new instance.
And each time you create a new one and save it to the server, that will count as an instance. Now, if you open that back up and add some more information, you needed to make some edits or corrections, that is not a new instance, that is an updated instance. And your limit is really just on the new instances. So you
Yes.
can actually do quite a lot with the free tier account. So just want to point that out. So they said, yeah, does it fire or can it fire a webhook again? This is back to
Yep.
the primary question. Yes, it can fire a webhook again. Exactly. If you wanted to, of course, you can also put in conditions that would say, don't do this.
It always does. So that even if you uploaded it when you're partially filled out, it's up to the on submit of handler, the action there, to check to say, have they actually done a submit and changed the status? Is the status still open? If it's still open, I don't want to process it. But every time something is uploaded, it's automatically runs through the on submit.
Fantastic.
And by the way, the on submit runs in the background. We return right away to the user.
Right, and that's actually a new feature for this year as well. That it used to be that when you were submitting your forms, you had to wait for those on submits to fire off in the background, and they could take a little while.
If you're rendering a PDF that's large,
a report or something, sure, yeah. So we've actually made a pretty big improvement there. Cool. Well, that looks like it for our list of questions. Dan, thank you very much for presenting.
I have a question. Was this helpful to people?
Was it helpful? Let's see if they're paying attention.
Did you or did you all know about these new features already?
They didn't know about the new features. I'm getting some yeses here down here.
Okay. So there is something I would just if I got 1 second here.
Yeah, you sure do. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you go to the designer.
Yeah.
And if you go to functions, and you go down here, render functions. Okay. There is lots and lots of all the things that I showed you. We tell you how to be able to do that, including the render button functions, the XY position stuff, all of that stuff.
Some sample code in many instances.
It's sample code is here. Oh, there was a change I may not have mentioned. You can now select from the help.
Oh, that's terrific.
Okay. So that's
Is-
new. And this
for
help,
those
only
of
in
you
this
who have
help.
run into that, yeah, okay. Oh, that's
Yeah,
fine. That's fine. Yep. Just
okay.
the functions is okay.
So
Yeah.
that's a well-defined. I'm trying to think what else. But there's I don't know if the stuff about quick link, did that ever get posted? There's
Yeah, we've been over quick link in webinars before and in
Yeah, because there's a document.
yep,
If I remember, there's a document. I don't know where it's posted
yep,
that explains quick link in much greater detail than what I did.
fantastic. I think it may actually be in the documentation system for Transform.
Yeah.
If I posted it there. Cool.
Okay.
Dan, thank you again. Thanks everyone for showing up. Our next session is going to start in just about 30 minutes at 3:45. We'll be looking at large language model AI integration with Alpha Anywhere. Hope to see you there. Bye-bye.